Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Unstoppable Podcast. My name is Ralph Graves Jr. So glad to have you guys checking in. And I say every week, you guys could be listening to anybody. You could be watching anybody, doing whatever you want to do. But the fact that you kind of clicked on here and joined me, man, I really want to say thank you. And I'm humbled by that. But today, as always, I have a guest today, and I'm laughing already because he and I were just connected on so many different levels. He is an author. He is a coach. He has run many corporations, and he has a unique story he's going to talk about today. Ladies and gentlemen, none other than Jeremie Kubicek. Jeremie, how are you, sir?
Ralph, good to meet you, man. Thanks for letting me be a part.
Man, thank you for just saying yeah, man, for just coming on the Unstoppable Podcast.
Absolutely.
Talking to my listeners, man. And guys, listen, if you don't know who he is, let me tell you who this guy is, and I'm gonna let him talk. He's written books like 5 Voices, 5 Gears, Leadership is Dead, How Influence is Reviving It. Has a book called The 100X Leader, book called Come Alive. Man, did I leave anything out?
Those are part of them. Yeah, that's good.
He is the CEO of Giant. Am I correct?
Yeah. I just transitioned to executive chairman because I got to promote myself out of the CEO, which was awesome. Yeah. But I've been running Giants for a long time. So
explain to us what Giant is.
Yeah. So the whole idea is we basically certify people on content for 21st century content. Most adults don't read much anymore. So we created this neurolinguistics, these tools and these personality systems and emotional intelligence systems that people can certify on, and then they use it to coach. So we basically equip people to unlock people. Our whole mission is to unlock people in every country of the world, or every company in every country. And so we're in about 172 countries right now, and we're just serving people. We become a partner with people who want to liberate other people.
172 countries. You guys hear that? Told you that the Unstoppable Podcast with Ralph Graves Jr. levels up because of guys like 172 countries, man. That's major.
Yeah.
Now, you guys listening, you guys may be very familiar with the John Maxwell team and John Maxwell, and he did some work. Talk about that. Like you had designed in.
Yeah. We bought John Maxwell's assets in 2007. And then it was Enjoy, if anyone's heard of Enjoy. So Enjoy had kind of run its course. So I took it all apart, and then I built the Catalyst conferences, Chick-fil-A Leadercast, and I sold John Maxwell's assets back to him, kind of cleaned them up, polished them up, passed them back to him. And then he took it and done incredible work. And then great guy. And then, so that's what we've been doing. We've been taking content and trying to make it accessible to people to use in good ways.
I like how you just glossed over Chick-fil-A Leadercast. If all of us know what kind of brilliant corporation Chick-fil-A is, and I tell people, I ride by Chick-fil-A on the way in here. People are not lined up because of a chicken sandwich. I mean, a chicken sandwich is a chicken sandwich. And to be talking to someone who was behind the scenes and developing that leadership program and how they do it. Man, Jeremie, man, you really have your finger on that pulse, man.
It's fun. No, it's all good. But man, I'm excited. What are we going to talk about today, Ralph?
Well, first of all, I want to tell people I want to talk about your beginnings, because it's about Unstoppable. Guys, you're never going to believe what Jeremie has done before he became who we are today. Jeremie, tell them what you used to do.
Well, yeah. So I'm a white Czechoslovakian, right? My family moved from Czechoslovakia. They moved from Prague, Czechoslovakia to Prague, Oklahoma. That's real original. Yeah. So I'm a farm boy. But when my first job, basically I got into the African-American hair care business, and I would sell African-American hair care products inside grocery chains and drug chains. And then I became a thought leader speaker. Bronner Brothers, I would do a lot of speaking in different locations and different events. Yeah. And I would speak all over the United States on why the curl was dead in certain places, and like hair care trends.
So
And then
I have this white guy with Czechoslovakian roots going to explain to me on why Jerry curl is dead.
it's so funny, but no, I mean, from a merchant, I was a merchant, and so I'd go in and I would explain like trends, right? And then, and so it was so fun because this white guy, people, and I would be in a like all black crowd, which was so good for me because I would see what it would be like for my brothers and sisters who would see it on the other side.
Yeah.
To go, hey, I'm the only white guy. I mean, I would preach and be in these white, all black churches, and then I'd speak at different locations, and so it was so great. But yeah, man, we sold the most luster pink oil than anyone in the nation, literally. And so I started this .com called ethnicsource.com. It was the first African American hair care.com.
Wow.
But it was before anyone trusted putting credit cards on the internet.
Yeah.
So it didn't last very long. It was like 2 years, and then the .com bust hit and it went under.
Wow.
But it was such a fun trial, and I would just try. I would go into these beauty salons, and I would just learn, and I would learn all about the single mom and just kind of the culture in Houston versus the culture in like the city of commerce in LA versus the black culture in Philadelphia or Chicago, versus Alabama and Mississippi. Yeah. And I just got like 7 years of cultural dynamics of understanding African Americans as much as you can as a white guy selling hair care products.
Yeah. And I think the theme in all of that, man, if I'm going to get a takeaway from that, and I want to help my listeners, it's very important that you cross-pollinate. It's very important that you cross-pollinate. You would have never thought that you would probably get into something like that. And like you said, you got opportunities because guys, listen, I pastor a church, Cornerstone Community Church in Millville, New Jersey. I'm a believer. This guy's a believer and a speaker and a preacher. And you got a chance to preach in some black church. You had a chance to, and what I'm trying to say is to learn other cultures besides your own. And I think that is definitely part of being a leader, part of being an influencer. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's part of it that it's not all about your culture. It's being able to move in any setting.
Yep. And so here's what I learned. My dad actually taught me this lesson in my 20s. He said, in your 20s, it's not what you do that matters, it's who you work for that matters.
Right. Okay.
So what that did is I went to work for someone, I call him the liberating leader. He was high support and high challenge, but he was so for me. Then he put me in position. And then I got the opportunity to watch how he cross-pollinated and worked and all of it. He was a white guy, but worked very closely with a lot of African Americans. And we had this great opportunity, but it was about watching and observing. And I got to be apprenticed under someone for 7 years. Yeah. That gave me insight that I never would have before.
And use that word apprentice, man. I think one of the things that come out of medieval times that, of course, we don't use anymore is that apprenticeship. We are of a generation. Well, how much money I'm going to make? It's not about the money you're going to make. It's going to what you learn. I like what you said about being an apprentice. So many people want to be at the top. They want to start at the top. They want to start out front first. That 7 years of whatever you might not be making the great money, but you're gaining something so much more than money that would allow you to build that. Talk about the apprenticeship, man.
So apprenticeship is like three parts. You got you have to learn. So it's the information is first. What's the information you need to learn? Then it's imitation. Now here's the thing with Jesus. Jesus basically was saying, "Follow me, apprentice under me." So discipleship is actually apprenticeship. It's meant to be apprenticeship. Yeah. But what happens is a lot of people take content and they watch stuff and they get the information and then they immediately go to innovation and they don't do imitation.
Right.
Well, the secret of apprenticeship is imitation.
Yeah.
So it's like, I got to learn this, but then I'm going to watch you. I'm going to learn how you do it. Once I perfect that, then I can innovate on that. But don't go innovating until you've imitated.
Yeah. And
most people aren't willing to do the hard yards of imitation. And most people aren't willing to invite people in to do it.
And why is that? Like, I think it's like I was mentored. I'm still mentored. I'm 53 years old in April. I'm still getting mentoring. and I've still availed myself to let me carry your bag, let me carry your books, let me, just let me roll with you. But why do you think that this next generation after us, Jeremie, don't accept it and don't give it?
Well, I think here's why. I think it's actually societal. It's built on the trades. Think about like the Industrial Revolution in the 50s, coming out of World War II. There was heavy manufacturing, heavy trades, plumber, electrician, manufacturing line, meaning you had to apprentice with people. That's how you learned. Right. Hey, watch me. Don't get electrocuted. Watch me. So people, or like bricklayers. Well, when the technology came, it's not like, hey, Ralph, come watch how I type this email. You're not going to watch me type an email, or here's how I'm coding. You're not going to sit and watch someone. Right. So all of a sudden in our work, for a lot of people who have started maybe the professional track, apprenticeship doesn't happen anymore. In the trades, it still happens. Okay. So I think that's a big part of why. Yeah. And then the second part is because there's so much information, people go, oh, I can just go to YouTube and do it. So the reality is you can actually apprentice. You can learn. My son learns stuff all the time on YouTube. I'm like, how'd you know how to do that? YouTube. Right. So he's imitating people on YouTube. Right. But it's not relational apprenticeship. It's transactional apprenticeship. Yeah. Yeah. I 20 years on the police department, you have a field training officer. Okay. So you're being, you're watching somebody. Even when I was a police officer, before I became a sergeant and rose up in the ranks, you're still being mentored by people. Now, pushing it forward to what, as a pastor, I planted the church, but I carried my dad's bags my dad was a pastor for 41 years. So I was always in the room. I didn't always have to say anything. I carried the bags. Back then the preachers used to wear robes. You're familiar with the black church. Sure. I would carry the robes. I would make sure he got down in the baptismal pool up and down. And so, that was my apprenticeship. Yeah. Totally. So when I planted this church at 37 years old, people, oh man, you're doing such a great job. You don't understand. I've been apprenticing since I've been 15, 16 years old, like you said, it's relational. It's a relational, not just transactional, man. Not just transactional. Hey, let me ask you this, man. What's the greatest lesson on this journey that you've learned that you can share with this audience? One of the greatest lessons you learned. All right. So there's a process called examine. Now, this is a Jesuit Catholic process that St. Ignatius Loyola created. Okay. And it's basically, it's the art of self-awareness. Okay. Now, as a believer, it's partnering with the Holy Spirit to do self-awareness every single day. Wow. So here's what happens. Here's what I do every single day. Every day at about 5:30 or 6. When I'm finished with my work, I do an examine process. It's 12, 15 minutes every day. And I go back through my calendar and I start off with, and I thank God for every good thing that happened that day. Okay. Like every little thing. I mean, it might be 5 things, 6 things, and I write them down. Hey, thanks for Ralph. What a great guy. Thank you for him today. You're going to be one of the guys that I'll thank the Lord for. So I do that. Then I go back through my day and I look at every meeting and I acknowledge, I say, how is my attitude? Search me, oh God, know my heart. Yeah. Try me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's anything in me. And I do like daily reflection like that. So what happens I've taken the best of leadership and self-awareness and I've married it to the Holy Spirit so that the Lord has access into my life every single day. Wow. Was there a lust there? Was there a pattern? Is there anything? It's not just all sin. Right. It's like, well, how's my heart attitude towards that person? Or is there something, or I felt like I'm a little lazy here. And then I just talk to the Lord about it. I write it down, but I go, there's no condemnation for those in Jesus. So therefore I go, I'm just staying fresh. And then I look at my next day and I actually look at all my meetings I have and I pray over those meetings and I start thinking about Lord, what do you want for Ralph today? So yesterday I didn't know you, but I prayed for your time. Lord, what do you want for Ralph? So I was prepared. So when I wake up this morning, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I say that is I think that there's a lot of inconsistent people, and there's a lot of issues and a lot of drama that all comes down to, we have these kumbaya moments, and then we live off that oil for like 2 weeks, and then we kind of, I'm so dry, I need the Lord again.
Right.
What I just put a system in. It's 12 to 15 minutes. Last night I couldn't do it until 10 o'clock. So I sat by my fire and I just did it. I just had a conversation with the Lord. I did the examine, and it's the best thing that I know how to do to stay totally connected with the Lord and observe my leadership skills and get better on a daily basis.
And you're inviting him into that process of leadership, man. And what a wonderful use of time. What a wonderful use of your time. He said that doesn't take long, 15, 20 minutes, you know. And I tell people all the time, listen, if God grants us, we all get the same 24 hours. And usually what separates us from one another is what we've done with that 24 hours. That's and right. that discipline right there, that discipline that life is made up of disciplines, that discipline that you have of inviting God into every moment, and that inviting God into that self-awareness time, man, that's major, man. And I hope you guys are listening, took notes and and decide to do that. I know I am.
That's really, really practical is my point, though.
Yeah.
But it's really doable.
Yeah.
And when that starts happening, all of a sudden you're like, man, so self-awareness is the process that I use. So it's comes from, Romans. So what we did is we took scripture. I'm a for-profit business. We work with Google, Leidos, big companies.
Right.
But I always have this philosophy, let the world fund me to influence it. Okay. That's a philosophy I have. So say
that again. I want everybody to hear that. Say that again.
Yeah. Let the world fund me to influence it.
Very good.
So the idea then is I took Romans 12:2, don't be conformed to the patterns of the world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Sure. And I put a visual tool to it. Yeah. And is this something that people, can they see this, or is this all audio?
No, they can see this as well.
This is, don't be conformed to the patterns of the world. So what the deal is, every one of us has tendencies.
Wow.
So if you think about the tendencies that we all have. So we have a tendency to get mad or impatient, have a tendency to exaggerate, have a tendency to, I have a tendency to get lazy at times, whatever it is. Yeah. If you know yourself and know when it happens, then you start learning, well, what's my pattern? So I get impatient with my wife. When do I get impatient? And why do I get impatient?
Okay.
And then what are my actions that I normally do? So someone might say, well, I don't look her in the eye and I get on my phone while she's still talking. Okay. Yeah. What are the consequences of that?
Right.
And then what's the reality of your marriage because you do that action?
Tendencies, actions, consequences, reality. Yeah.
So the key is you'll never change the tendency. You'll probably always be impatient or frustrated with your wife or a person or whatever. Like I have a tendency to exaggerate. I'll just say mine. I have a tendency to exaggerate. I know when I'm about to do it. It's when I want to win or when I'm trying to prove myself.
Gotcha.
So that's in me.
Yeah.
So it will always be in me. So I lead myself and I go, well, what are my actions? Usually I add 3. So if you say, how many countries are you in? I go, we're in 291. We're at 172. I'm not exaggerating. Those are 172 countries. But I have a tendency to add more.
Right.
So
that's like pastors. How many members you got? Everybody got 1,000. Let me tell you something. This is the United States of America. 1,000 people ain't coming to church in New Jersey no more. I'm telling you the truth right now. Anybody in South Jersey that tell you they got 2,000 members, that's exaggerating.
So because they're trying to show themselves to be bigger than they are, right?
Yeah.
So when you do that and you're another pastor, you're like, yeah, I know. That's a lie. You're lying. What else are you lying about? So the consequences of that lying means that I don't trust you as much because you're always exaggerating. Right. So what I started to do is go, hey, I know myself. So what are my patterns and when does it happen? I catch myself and I lead myself. I go, wait, don't do it. You're about to exaggerate. Just tell the truth. Right. That's my action. I tell the truth. My consequence is I don't get the bad outcomes. And so that's just an example of how we take tools and how we create tools to help people because everyone's visual. Very few people read anymore.
Right.
So they're watching videos. And so reading is not as much of a factor as it used to be.
Yeah. And that's why podcasts are so very popular now.
Yep, totally.
Audiobooks, podcasts, you're exactly right. Guys, if you want to see that, hop on over to the YouTube channel. This is on YouTube as well. You'll be able to see that entire graph. Man, that is amazing. I'm going to now be watching my tendencies and then really asking the question why. I like that. Tendencies, actions, consequences ends up being our reality. Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Yep.
Awesome, man. I like that. How has it, because this is the Unstoppable podcast, I tell people we're all going to face challenges. We're all going to fail sometimes. If you care to share a failure, and how has failure shaped your life, Jeremie?
Yeah. So I'm not afraid of failure.
Right.
Now I say that there's been, no one wants to fail, right?
Right.
But when you get opportunities to go, man, I've started 24 companies in 26 years.
Wow.
So out of those companies, I've probably had 8 of them fail.
Wow.
And then I've sold some, and then some are, continuing. So there's just some people have an appetite to risk, and I'm an entrepreneurial background and so forth, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a little different in that regard. So failure's not a big deal, but I had to get to the point of personal failure, of like even on the inside, and I started to understand that Jesus is a liberator.
Yes, he is.
Jesus is a freedom fighter. He brings high stuff. He's a lamb and he's a lion.
Yeah.
So what I started to find myself was I would get on myself and dominate myself. So I found out that in failure, I was so afraid to fail because I was thinking I was a failure personally.
Yeah.
And I started to realize, the enemy came to steal, kill, and destroy.
Sure.
So I started realizing he was using me as a pawn, as a punk to take me out myself, sabotaging myself.
Yeah.
So every time that I would get on myself, like, dang it, stop, you do that, like negative talk.
Right.
I was partnering with the enemy to steal, kill, and destroy myself.
Yeah. Wow.
So I started to watch, how did Jesus deal with issues and sin, and how did he basically, how did he liberate, and how did he empower, not overpower?
Right.
And so I started studying Jesus. So I would read scripture, and I read the Gospels through what's Jesus' view of God. And then I would reread it. Skim read. Jesus' view of his disciples.
Yeah.
Then reread it. Jesus to the world.
Right.
Jesus to the church. Jesus to demons and the devil.
Right.
And very quickly you start seeing the life of Jesus and how he operates and how he acts and how he moves around with unbelievable support, but unbelievable challenge.
Yeah.
But like he's fighting for the highest possible good of us.
Yeah.
So a liberating leader fights for the highest possible good. So I started to go, I'm going to do the same thing for myself. So I'm going to fight for the highest possible good of myself. So I don't worry about failure. Right. I do the exam in the evening. You know what I do in the morning? Okay. I do liberation statements. I get up in the morning, I jump in the shower, and I remind myself who I am.
Yeah.
Don't think this is cheesy, but I go, God, I tell him who he is to me. God, right. Today, you are this to me today. And it's different every morning.
Right.
And then I tell myself, Jeremie, you're a son of the Most High God. You've been saved by the blood of Jesus. You're a freedom fighter. You're a liberator. You fight for the highest possible good. And then I like call myself up, not out.
Right.
And I find that the enemy is always calling us out.
Yes.
So Jesus came to destroy the works of the destroyer. He came to heal, cast out, and raise up.
Yeah.
And so, can I get an amen, Ralph? Come on, man.
Come on, man, you're preaching, man.
I'm joking. So I'm preaching right now.
We got the air. I'm gonna give you a date here at Cornerstone.
But my point is that to heal, to cast out, and raise up is the work of Jesus.
Right.
He's an empowering liberator. And I had to get to the point where I liberate myself.
Yeah.
So I don't look at failure.
Yeah.
I go, failure. Like what? Okay, it didn't work. It didn't work like I hoped.
Right.
Is that failure?
No.
So I don't really care what anyone, and I tell people honestly, it didn't work. I thought it was a good idea. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Next idea.
But you know what, man, what you're saying and what you are showing people is, we as believers look at things a little bit different. We don't mourn or stress like people who have no hope. Listen, that imposter syndrome is real. And so, yes, you have to have those moments where you are calling yourself up and not out, and if you're not careful, the enemy will use that. Like, who are you to be doing that? What makes you, you're not even qualified to be where you are, but like you said, Christ is the liberator. Christ is the liberator, man. And so I definitely, I really love the fact that you call yourself up every morning and not out every day. Yeah. I hope you guys wrote that down. Man. That's something else, man. That's something else. Thank you for sharing that, man. I want to talk about a few of these books that you wrote, because I want people to go over there and get them. I know that, I need for them to get to know you through this podcast, through some of the books that you wrote. The 100X Leader, the 100 Times Leader. Talk to me about that book.
Yeah, the idea is helping people get to 100% health and teaching them to multiply. It's all about apprenticeship.
Yeah.
So the whole book is teaching people, like most leaders are 75 plus. Right. They're generally healthy and they add value. Like, hey, Ralph, if you ever need me, my door's always open. Come on in. I'd be glad to help you.
Right.
But Jesus wasn't like that. And X means that he could see where he wanted Peter to go, and he was trying to get him there.
Yeah.
So we use the metaphor of the Sherpa on Mount Everest.
Okay.
That the Sherpa they can handle more because they were born in that altitude. Yeah. Well, they climb and help people climb. So the idea is that they have to climb themselves. So you have to perform, but you have to help people perform. Doesn't mean you pick them up and carry them. It doesn't mean that you have to learn how to support them and challenge them to get them up the mountain. Okay. So it's basically, I think I'm biased here. I think it's the best field guide for leading teams. So if you lead people, the 100X Leader is a field guide for leadership, and so it's really practical. It
really teaches us to multiply leaders.
That's it.
Kind of multiply yourself, and so we need. Yep. So we can pick that up anywhere, right? Barnes and Noble.
That's Amazon, Barnes and Noble, online. Yeah. Most of them are all online at Amazon.
Yeah.
And then the 5 voices, it's basically, we took what is Jungian typology, which is where Myers-Briggs came from, and we simplified it because it's too complex. Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, good, too complex, and it doesn't spread. It doesn't transfer.
I just took the Enneagram a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
But you can't explain to someone, I'm a 7 with a wing 8, and they know what you're talking about.
No, you can't. Not in everyday language, no. You can't explain.
But if I said to you this, hey, I'm a connector creative, and you're a pioneer connector, and my wife, she's a guardian nurturer. If you know the words, what the words mean, you can understand personality now to an educated 13-year-old can get it.
Wow.
So everything we've done is created for everyone. So we now know our kids' personality. So if you want to learn what your kids are, you want to understand your spouse, if you want to use something that everyone can use, then the 5 voices is unbelievably helpful to know and understand personality.
I need to pick up several copies and have them here at church. I'm going to get that. The 5 voices.
The 5 gears is sign language.
Okay.
So that was the 5 voices is personality. The 5 gears is a sign language, and it basically teaches people. I'll do it in record time. 5th gear is it's like a manual stick shift. 5th gear is focus mode. 4th gear is task mode. 3rd gear is social mode. 2nd gear is connect mode, and 1st gear is recharge.
Okay.
And the issue is most people don't know how to be in the right gear at the right time.
Right.
So you might have a spouse who's working at 7 o'clock. They're in 4th gear, and everyone in the family is at 3rd gear.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you want to nag at them, put your phone up, stop your email. And instead what this is, it's basically an objective way to call. So you can do this. Hey, Ralph. Hey.
Right.
and you call a play.
Call a play,
and,
right.
And then they go, oh, yeah, I'm in the wrong gear.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So it's a calendar system
Gotcha.
to learn how to be emotionally intelligent, to be in the right gear at the right time.
Man, I've never even seen anything like, or even heard of anything like that before, man. That is awesome, man. That is awesome. Leadership is dead. How influence is reviving it.
Yeah, that and making your leadership come alive. Yeah, that one, like, so if you like stories, I tell my mafia stories. I lived in Russia. I had my first client was assassinated. The second chapter is me. I died I was killed, no exaggeration. I was healed and raised up after being hit by a drunk driver in a hurricane in Mexico in 2002. Wow. So I tell that story. So it's a lot more stories, but it's all about self-preservation and influence. Wow. And if you want to learn how to influence people and how your own self-preservation keeps you from it, then that's what that book's about.
Wow. Man, how your own self-preservation keeps you from it. That's something else. I don't think that we believe that we are the enemy. Sometimes we allow, like you said earlier, the podcast, we allow the enemy's influences. And then what you just said here, a lot of times we keep ourselves from being the person that God destined us or called us to be.
That's
now,
right.
You talked about being in Russia. You weren't selling black hair care products in Russia.
No, I came back and sold them after Russia. So I started an economic school and a couple of businesses there. Wow. And the whole goal was, how do you liberate people who have been dominated for 70 years? And so I used capital and economic school to try to teach people a different way of thinking and leading. So,
wow. Jeremie, how can my audience find you, man? Where can they find you? I know you have websites and
this is easy. It's free too. If they like this kind of stuff, you want to check some of these videos out, just go to giant.tv/JK, and that gives you free access. You sign up, but we're not gonna harass you. And you can take the 5 voices assessment if you wanted to see what your voice is.
Wow.
You can watch the videos on the 5 gears. You can everything we talked about. If you like it, you can go explore it.
I'm going to jump on there myself. Giant.tv/JK.
Yep.
Very good.
That's it. Yep.
Very good. Man, I thank you for your time today. Thank you for just being so gracious, man. I know your schedule is probably crazy, but the fact that you came on and talked to us, man, and shared with us today, man, it's just that's just awesome for us, man. May God just continue to richly bless you and keep you and your family. Thank you for pouring into us the way that you have. And will you come back again? I hope this ain't the last time.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And to you as well, man, just in the midst of COVID, what you're trying to do as a liberator to your community, just the message of unstoppable. It's like, man, thanks for being a freedom fighter. That's who you've been your whole career. Yeah. And you just get to do it now instead of the police force. You get to do it you're still in the PD. You're in the pastor department. So,
yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for saying that, man. And again, guys, you have been listening to the Unstoppable Podcast with Ralph Graves Jr. Our guest today was Jeremie Kubicek. And listen, Google him, find him, buy some of these books, get on it, call him in, do some leadership stuff. You're going to be hearing from him again as soon as this COVID thing lifts and God's allowed. Jeremie, you have to come to Cornerstone for me.
Oh, man, that'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. Well, as long as I get your blessing, and I gotta learn how to the speaking style. I have to change a little bit, but I love it. It's so much fun.
Oh man, you'll be all right, man. You'll be all
right.
No,
I've done it. I have some of the funniest stories of speaking in some black churches that is just hilarious. And I loved it.
Well,
no, it's so fun.
And I have to say this: if you're watching this podcast, I'm bald-headed. I'm bald. So none of your African American hair care products work for me. None of the what was that stuff on my hair to get waves? I forgot the name of it. None of it works.
Sporting waves. Well, it works too well. It was a little too potent.
Jeremie, thanks for being on, guys. You've been listening to the Unstoppable Podcast. I'm Ralph Graves Jr. Share it. Tell somebody about it. I'll see you guys next time. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you.